Hi guys, welcome back to our second episode of the IB Stressin podcast. And today, today's episode is actually titled "The Probability Test That Ruined Our Lives." Very
Dun, dun,
traumatic memories
dun.
that we're going to look up for the sake of your entertainment. So today's we'll mainly be talking about classroom experiences within our individual classes. We're very diverse people, very fun and fresh in that realm. So you'll get a new perspective on every class. Hoping that helps anyone planning on picking subjects or just anyone wanting to relate to those experiences in the hellhole that is SL Math. We'll get started then. We're gonna start off with objectively the worst class, and that is SL Math.
SL Math.
So Mary, you know who wants to take it away?
Say it again.
Yeah, so SO Math.
So many tears were shed in that class.
Oh god.
Ridiculous.
I mean, I think, it was a good class. Considering that is when Miriam and I's friendship started. I was already friends with Layla at that point, but she was in that class too, in that specific class.
It made me long for grade 9
I had
math.
a very different experience than most of the people in the class because I sucked. And then Miriam was really good at math. So that was pretty much what bonded us.
Can we just talk about Mr. Whitney? I felt so bad for this man, the way you abused him.
Not literally. For listeners, not literally.
He did what we wanted to do.
Mr. Whitney was an actual G. Like, he didn't go through with semester 2 SL Math just so he didn't have to mark the I's.
Yeah, like he did what he wanted to do. He's living the dream.
He really did. He found an escape and he went through with it.
He took it.
Saw the opportunity and took it.
See, I did nothing to Mr. Whitney. Unfortunately, I have a really big mouth, and things come out of it that I don't wish for it to come out. But regardless, Mr. Whitney and I did have a very friendly relationship. I don't think Miriam and I did at the beginning because I was sitting behind her. I would just not stop yelling in her ear. Because that's what I do. I just yell when I don't get something. Well, not yell in the sense of like angry yelling, but I just unfortunately have a very loud voice.
Oh, Yohan, every time you used to get back your test.
Speaking of tests, I have a story time. Okay, so SL Math wasn't bad for everyone. We've learned this because there are people who did well in it. They excelled. Mariam is one of them. Me, I was not part of that little gang. Basically, I remember the probability test that ruined our lives. I had studied. I had done my work. I had tried. That I also think special mention. They put this test I think it was the day after Halloween, so none of us could go trick-or-treating. What was the point of that? And so I spent my Halloween inside studying for this test. I go in, I do part 1, because it was always separated, part 1 and part 2, calculator, no calculator. I do part 1, and find myself tearing up while writing the test. I hand in part 1, look at my friend, and burst into tears in the middle of the test. It was like, we weren't even done. I still had to write a whole other part. I burst into tears, and she told me I had to suck it up because I needed to write another half of the test. If that doesn't describe the SL Math experience, I don't know what will.
Can I just say, Layla, I was sitting in front of you and like in front of Joanna. I had no idea what was going on behind me. I had no clue that people were sobbing.
Literally sobbing. Literally having the worst breakdown of their life.
I was there like with my GDC, the TI 180. What is it?
Shout out. It's our brand deal, our sponsors.
Love, I don't know.
Kidding.
No, but like I was just there vibing with my level 6. I turn around, everyone's sobbing, and I'm like, what?
Absolute chaos.
Miriam, I turn around back to my role.
I'm sick. I'm tired.
And what did she do? Absolutely nothing. She let us suffer. Not a single note was passed.
I really said, I pretend I do not see.
Here's a little lesson for all of you, though. Like, if you're someone who's good at math and you're going into IB and SL Math, like Miriam, chances are you're going to do well or you're going to start doing well in the first, like, few months as you go into IB. If you're like Layla and you're like just an average person at math, you're gonna suffer a lot. And if you're like me, someone who is terrible at math, you're desensitized to things like that, which is good, because
7
you
stages of
don't
grief.
actually feel the pain of any of the terrible marks that you get, but also bad, because I really encourage everyone who is not doing well in SO Math in the first year to simply drop out. For me, it was a
No,
pride
that is
thing,
not
and
the advice that we're giving. That is not the
that is the advice,
our
because you
advice.
need to take care of
Beep.
who you are and what you can do. But
No, but like
I would suggest
the whole
drop
point
out
of
if
this
you're not
is
doing
like
too
you get
well.
faced with the most difficult program of your life, like up to this point, and you persevere through. And if it's like absolutely horrible and you're falling apart and your mental health is in shambles, of course, do what you need to do. But like we are living proof that even the person who struggles the most can get through. They might not get 100% or anything near it, but they can get through. And Joanna looks extremely unhappy at what I'm saying right now, but it is true. um, and I will say, for me, I went into tutoring, and that was the best decision of my life. Like, get help. If you need help, get help. It's worth it.
Okay, what we were saying was not the lesson. Do not do SL Math. SL Math is not the way. I remember my friends saying they were crying in the hallways. Guidance counselors came and asked them, "What happened? Do you need help?" No, that's SL Math. I advocate for HL Math, okay, guys? No matter you're good or bad at math, just do HL Math. It's fun. Like, it's
That
worth
is
the fun.
single-handedly the worst advice I've ever heard in my life.
You want the
First
HL
class,
Math?
Tina, if
HL
we're
Math. Our teacher was like,
if we struggle with
Some
the basic
student, like-
math, how are we gonna do the even harder one?
it's like, you're gonna struggle anyways. Why not struggle in the fun?
What?
Tina, our teacher told us there was this girl in a grade before us or something. She got like a level 2 in HL Math. She stayed until the end. She started like at a 4, and she stayed until the end and got that 2 because she liked it, and she said it was worth it.
I think I'm going to be okay suffering through.
I think just one
year.
thing to note though is like I'm 80% sure the SL Math curriculum has been changed. So if math is a requirement for your university program, it's no longer acceptable to do SL Math. Like they made SL Math easier.
Are you serious?
So like it doesn't count as a prerequisite. Double check that, but I did hear
reference
talk
your guidance
of that
counselors
last year. So that's a struggle. And I just want to add to the SL Math thing. As someone who was in the other class, I was in another class instead of the 3 here. I finished the first part of the test. I literally went there stressed out of my mind. Everyone else was stressed. We sit down. We're taking the test. I look up, right? Half the class is gone. They just left. They just left the room because they were so done with the test. So that's a testament to how bad SL Math is. So
on the flip side, however,
but I wouldn't work.
On the flip side, there were good experiences, and there were good experiences in IB. I'm not going to talk about SL Math. I'm talking about history class instead. That was single-handedly the best class I've ever attended. We have other history class members in this podcast, and it was literally that was the best experience of my life.
And like multiply the number of like the amount of serotonin you get from that money cake by 10, and that's how history was. Literally the most fun I've ever had. Great course, so informative, so just fun to learn in general. Great interactive like lessons. Great community of like all girls, 9 girls in a class, all very
superiority.
Yeah, all iconic female teacher who was such a baddie. Love her. Won't say her name, but love you, queen. All of us, like our class average was a 94 gang.
No, honestly, she deserves recognition. Shout out Miss Cabral. You were literally the best teacher I have ever had. You made a subject that should be boring extremely interesting and gave us actual life skills that we're going to need in university.
Yep. Guys, history is that kind of subject where you're so interested in the material that you don't even realize you're studying at times. Making presentations, writing. There were times like, do you guys ever get super absorbed in that essay and like you were enjoying it? Like, you know, like in that journal reading and you're like, yes, this is actually kind of fun. It's that kind of class. So it's no longer math or anything. It's
high key, yeah, I felt that.
Yeah.
Do you ever
You're genuinely interested. The homework seems fun and it's not a chore. I so recommend you find a class you're genuinely passionate about. because it'll be your escape. So you know, like days where I had like math homework and I also had history homework, I do history homework instead, and it was like, it was a way to get my homework done while still having fun. Just find a class you're passionate about. It doesn't have to be a real passion. Fake it till you make it gang. Lila, do you have anything to say about history? I just gasped the hell out
I
of it.
think that you honestly covered it really well. And the feeling of success that you feel after completing every essay or assignment, and then after completing the course in general, that was superior.
Right, so for history, I was just gonna say that even if you get a level 4 and you'll be really upset about it in the moment, I think even just the experience of writing the essay still makes it feel, entertaining and fun to take the course. Like every time I failed in history, or like, the OPCVL was just not cutting it for paper 1, I still felt confident about like, continuing to pursue history as a course, and it was still fun. So definitely recommend HL history.
Yeah, another topic that I think like I want to switch to right now is like the importance of having like people who are like-minded in your class to motivate you to try, because honestly I feel like people, I know like they're always like, oh, people are what's most important, people are the resource of the new century, whatever, but like it's really really a big factor in how successful your school life is.
Absolutely agree. Yeah.
Case A, several of my classes, if I have a class where people, like the lovely people on this podcast right now, are like supportive and we're all like trying hard, that pushes me to try harder, and then I somewhat succeed. I ride off the tails of other people's
and
success.
And it just hits different.
Get those sexy 6s and 5s. And then, but like if I'm in a class where like, no one talks, like no one answers the teacher, like I don't know about y'all, but I feel like that pressure and just kind of stay quiet.
And
like,
I felt that. I felt that especially like right now.
Into like not caring about the class, which is so stupid.
I felt that especially right now because we had like such a good group in our first like quadmester when we were doing English, and then now I've been split off from basically everyone, and my class is so dead. But then I see like your class group chats and your class like chats, and they're so lively and the teacher's interested, and I just can't say the same thing literally because the classroom environment isn't like that anymore. Which is so unfortunate.
Guys, related to that, beyond like emotional support friends and like classroom support, did anyone have, like, just side note, anyone have that one song that really got them through a rough day, like that probability day test, like any specific song? Because
yes.
I'll pull up mine. For me, anyone who was on Tumblr at any point in their life definitely knows this as like the edit song. It's Swim by Chase Atlantic. I'll play like 3 seconds. This one. Anyone
the way
really
you had it ready. I felt that, except mine changes literally every month. So right now it's Pretty Girl by Sorry Mom, because it's just such a nice vibe.
I think mine was Losing Control by Russ because it made me sad and I needed to feel more sad so that I could get out of this sad,
Anything by Russ just breaks my heart. I had specific like memories associated to specific songs, and I just cried. I would just sit there and cry. Mm-hmm. Missing You Crazy by Russ.
Missing You Crazy, the acoustic version.
Pain hours.
Yeah, I think back then I was in a BTS phase, so it was probably a BTS song, but nowadays I like Tail by Sunmi and Paranoia by Kang Daniel. K-pop fans will know what I'm talking about. Everyone else will be like,
everyone else sitting here like,
Okay,
yeah, we'd really be going to math, like.
Let's hope we don't get copyrighted with that.
Chin a few times.
But going back to what we were talking about, like the importance of having a supportive class group chats, they hit differently.
I have a class group chat
make or break. They are the make or break.
So, okay, I want to talk about SL chemistry. So this is like the first official IB class group chat that I was in, and we called it C17H21NO4 synthesis, which is basically the formula for cocaine. So
I wasn't expecting that.
But no, it was so much fun.
Stupid name or something. No, it's cocaine.
Without that group chat, like I would not have made it through like combustion analysis or like bonding.
Because it adds so much
organic
spice.
chem at all.
Actually, this reminds me of one day in history class, we were, sorry, technical difficulties. I remember once in history class, we were talking in the group chat and just blowing it up, and it was like so funny. And I looked up, oh no, it wasn't history, it was English. It was English class. And I fell out of my chair, and Mariam watched me fall out of my chair laughing. And Marsh, our teacher, Mr. Marsh, commented on it and was like, how are you guys doing? Or like, what's going on over there? And I remember it was the funniest moment, like him putting us on blast. It just it incorporates everyone, and I don't think we've ever gone wrong with the class group chat. There's
We
always
really haven't.
yeah.
But yeah, adding on to what I was saying before about chemistry, I thought the chemistry IOs would be the worst time of my life, and I thought it would be super stressful. But I remember, like, during the IA, like, meeting everybody in the lab and actually talking to people and, like, you know, stealing their chemicals and stuff. It was so
I know you didn't just
exciting.
say stealing their chemicals.
No, the way I actually did. Like, stealing beakers and tubes from people. But, like, actually, like, sitting down with them and talking to them. Like, I remember I met so many people during that class. Like, I remember I met Felix through when he heated his beaker way too hot, and he had like a chemical in it, and he needed to wash his beaker, so he ran cold water in a hot beaker, and it shattered all over the floor. And Dr. Johnson just stood there. She just stood there as she watched him clean it.
I very much feel empathetic for him. That's something that I would do 100%.
I think definitely the science
I did do actually.
Yeah, just
Go ahead, Tina.
similar to Miriam's experience. It was like the same thing in the biology class in my first year of IB that I was in, where we put too much glucose in a beaker and then we mixed it with some liquid and we had to stir it, but it just didn't work out, and the glucose just stayed in the beaker, like frozen in there. It was one of the nicest things that have happened in that class, regardless of
nicest
it
things.
being pretty, like, terrible. But it was funny for us. It helped us bond. So it was definitely, like, actually seeing the people was a really good experience. And, like, with the group chats, our history group chat was crazy nice as well.
Our history group chat, yeah.
I think, first of all, the science IA is one of the most important experiences in IB. I took physics, unlike everyone else who are like chem bio oriented.
Because you are built differently.
My IA required me to bring a physical drill to school to do woodwork in the classroom. And my classmates were like, my friends used a vacuum, and we were all like, bringing all kinds
What
of stuff
class
to school,
was that?
and all day in the hallways with vacuum. Yeah, and I was holding like the blocks of wood with me. And yeah, if you see people like around that time, you know, in the hallways, like maybe walking around carrying elephants, don't worry, they're just UIAs.
Don't worry, they're just
You never
physics kids.
know.
True. No, I remember Julian, one of my friends, he came to his SL chemistry IA just holding a bunch of Canada Dry, and I was like, what? And he was doing like some titration with Canada Dry, but I remember after the experiment, he just drank the can.
The
No
one
idea
that he
what was going
tampered
on.
with? Like the can that
And
he
for legal reasons, I shall
Uh.
not.
Yeah, I remember for one of my science classes, this was in grade 9 or something, our teacher had to go over the safety guidelines, and I remember one of the lines he said, I remember this very distinctly. He was like, if there is a puddle of something looking suspiciously blue on the lab table, is your first instinct to drink that blue substance? And we were all like, no. And he was like, good, because now you have more sense than one of my students in the past who did exactly that, and we had to take him to the hospital to get pumped.
Oh
I
my
remember
god.
this so clearly. I was like, why would you drink that? What's wrong with you?
And that
Science
is the type of
Serious
memory
substance
that
in your
bonds you
chemistry
for
class is
life.
so good.
Question, was there did the students survive? Was there a conclusion to that
To my
one?
knowledge, the students survived.
Okay.
Yes.
Why are you so
Okay.
disappointed? You're like,
It was
yeah.
just a little bit of blue Kool-Aid, nothing big.
I remember I had someone
Illegal.
eat lettuce in one of my science classes, like the lettuce that we were
Yeah.
using for the experiments, and then he had to write a reflection on how he felt after eating the lettuce. So
Classical
that
IB
was a
movement,
fun time,
reflection.
but
Qualitative observations through the roof.
yeah.
He's like, honestly, I
No,
felt pretty
definitely
hydrated.
a fun time when people do things that they're not supposed to do in science class.
I think
For one, did for my IA for chemistry, I did a coffee titration, and I did everything wrong, and I think it was like pretty fun for the teachers to read.
I think that honestly, like the most chaotic parts of classes is always the best memories. Like the people who cause the most chaos, they'll have the most fun, and they'll make the class the most fun for the rest of the kids. Yes, it's really good. Focus, do your work, do as well as you can, but don't be afraid to start some chaos every once in a while. Everyone will appreciate it as long as no one gets hurt.
But be careful with the chaos. Like, too
Be
much chaos is
moderate
also not
chaos.
good. We are being
A little too much.
sometimes it can be a little too much, so you need to have a balance.
100% agree with that. You gotta do it in moderation. Make sure that everyone's having fun because the second someone doesn't, then the whole thing.
Again, going back to the group chat thing, I think definitely online classes, in fact, right now are enhancing this kind of online bond in some senses, because in the Google Meet, the chat is crazy all the time. I know for both of my classes this semester, the chat is always crazy. We're always not necessarily flirting with the teacher, but
What? Not at all.
Sorry
Not
about
at
that.
all. For
it's
legal
like
reasons,
engaging the
that does
whole
not
class to
happen.
joke around. Yeah,
No,
but it never happens.
and it's honestly like it is a lifeline in the face of the pandemic. These group chats bring people together in a way that we literally would not be able to because we can't see people in real life. Like this is the only way to make friends. That to my knowledge.
Layla, you want to talk about the Ronnie's group chat?
That was single-handedly the most chaotic group chat I've been in my entire life because it was the first time we ever just got to be like no filter. We said what we thought, and it was a lot of people. You would think that for those you'd want like group chats of like 5, maybe 4 people. No, there was like 12, I want to say. 12?
There was 22.
There was 22 people on that group
Bearing our
chat.
souls to 22 people on the
And
daily.
half of them were inactive. So they're just reading our messages like, what the heck is going on in these kids' minds?
Like, let me out, let me out.
Let me
please.
But it actually led to a formation of a much smaller group chat of a lot closer friends and was like probably the only reason why that class was entertaining and fun and like exciting to the degree that it was. I think
Yeah, and these
sorry,
group
go for it.
chats also, just like an add-on, provide like a level of like privacy that these Google Meet chats really don't. Because
Privacy
like,
from the
Google
teacher.
Meet chats are fun, but A, your teacher will be reading them, and B, it's exposing you to the whole class, so you can't talk bad about the people in the class. That's the problem. So I think it really does foster that sense of community, and I'm very, very grateful to have been a part of these group chats that Layla mentioned.
So essentially, the moral of the story is try to get yourself in with some people because that's definitely going to help you. You're going to become way more relaxed, way more comfortable with the people you're with, and it definitely helped us through IB and through the pandemic. It's really essential. So,
and I think if you think back to our first topic of discussion, the probability test that ruined our lives, we would not be here joking about it if it wasn't for having friends who got to like sob over it together. Like it was truly a bonding experience. And I don't know, friends make everything better. And I think that we are nearing the end of our time. So thank you for listening to this episode. We hope you join us next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.